Not, there's little doubt that the entire fight happening in full public glare on the platform of Twitter is extremely entertaining. In the latest, Mr. Elon Musk seems to suggest that he's reconsidering his $44 billion offer to buy out Twitter. And the bone of contention seems to be how many spam bots are on the platform. So essentially, Mr. Musk believes that at least 20% of accounts on Twitter are fake, are spam, are bots. And Parag Agrawal, the current CEO, and may I add, quite the beleaguered CEO of Twitter, says it's probably less than 5%. Now, Musk has said that he wants to see proof of this before he moves ahead. But it's not as simple as how I've described it. In the midst of all of this, there has been a lot of online trolling and some poo emojis also bandied about by Mr. Elon Musk. Now, it's an interesting story, not just because of its entertainment value. You have one of the richest people in the world being very clear and open about what he thinks and willing to put it out in real time on the social media platform he wants to buy. But it also gives us a peek into the future of what is seen as a very powerful megaphone to the world, which is Twitter. To get a sense of what could possibly be going on, I'm joined today by Manish Maheshwari. He's CEO and founder in Vact Metaversity and also the former Twitter India head. Manish, great to have you on the show and thank you for speaking with us here at ET Now.
Thanks for having me on your show.
All right, let's begin with your take on the current twists and turns that we've seen in the last couple of days. Does it seem to you like Elon is finding a way to back out of the deal or just to buy it cheaper?
Yeah, let me just start by a disclaimer. So I'm not at Twitter, and I think whatever I'm saying, it's based on whatever is publicly available, which you're also reading, I'm also reading. The only difference is that I have a somewhat better perspective because I was at Twitter some time back. So my view on the current situation is that the public markets have corrected significantly, almost by 20% in the last 1 month. So from the date the deal was signed for $44 billion to now, I think the Twitter price have gone down, and also in general, NASDAQ has corrected, right? So there is clearly a business reason to renegotiate given the situation. Having said that, how do you do that? Because I think the way the deal was signed, Elon had given up the rights for due diligence. That's what it seems to me. Now, with that backdrop, it appears to me that the number of bot accounts seems to be a very solid and a valid reason for him to create pressure. And the way he is doing it in public, and the way he is, putting Twitter folks, on one side and making them react on Twitter itself, shows that he's clearly playing hardball there. And clearly, my sense is the intention there is to figure out how the deal can be renegotiated. That's what I feel as of today, looking at all the tweets that have come from Elon over the last 2-3 days, and also the reaction from Parag defending the point of view that indeed the spam accounts are less than 5%, as they had claimed in their filing.
Would you have any insight on this, though, Manish, about the number of spam accounts that are existing on the site? Because that is truly a bone of contention, where people believe that a lot of engagement, a lot of likes, a lot of views sometimes are because of spam bots. Do you think the 5% figure is closer to the truth that Twitter is claiming, or Musk's 20%?
Well, see, I don't know the exact number of spam or bot accounts. Clearly, this is something which I think I never looked into, or it was not something managed from India at the time I was in India. What I can say for sure is that as a platform, Twitter is a platform for public opinion and for people to express themselves. And therefore, they allow anonymity and also pseudonymity, right? I mean, anyone can sign up and there is no compulsion for them to disclose their real identity. Now, there's a reason why there is a policy like that, which is because they want anyone to express themselves without any fear or favor, right? And anonymity and pseudonymity allows people to do that. Now, the moment you have that policy, it also allows people to open multiple accounts and also have different personalities, right? I mean, what I know for sure is that in different countries, people have different personas and they sign up with different email IDs and different phone numbers. So that is there. Now, coming to the question of bot accounts, clearly there could be a business reason to have bot account, and there could also be not so valid reason to have bots, right? Many of the services by many of the applications rely on bot-based, interfaces, right? For example, if you want to get an update on your stock, if it crosses a certain price point and get an alert, or if you want something to be auto-posted from your feed, there is a valid business reason and a valid use case to allow that. Now, the question here is, okay, what part of that is legitimate, valid, and has a user need, and what part of that is being manipulated? And that's a number that probably something that requires to be looked into. And I mean, I won't have that exact number, but what I can say for sure is that it appears that the bone of contention is both the claim of the number being less than 5% and also the method through which it has been calculated. And that is what has been called into question by Elon in his public tweets. In fact, in his own way, in a very mischievous and a joking way, he talked about the fact that a sample size of 100 is what it is. Without actually saying it is sample size of 100, he hinted at that number is how it has been calculated. And the other tweet I saw from Elon talks about the fact that if you can't explain your method, is that something you want me to take as a good argument? So clearly, there is a lot going on there.
Yeah.
But at the back of it, I feel like this is a tactic that Elon is doing to really push Twitter to a corner and extract what he wants to extract, which probably is a better price or probably better terms now, given that public markets have corrected.
Do you think it's an ethical way of doing it, Manish? Because a lot of it is being also described as cyberbullying of sorts. I mean, what is your view on things like the poo emoji? Are these conversations that could not have been had offline, so to speak? And also the fact that the bot problem was very much there in Elon's mind, even when he made a $44 billion bid for Twitter. So what has changed?
Yeah, so my personal opinion, based on whatever I have seen publicly available, I think whenever a deal is signed, it is signed on the basis of certain representations and warranties. So I'm sure Twitter must have given some representation and warranties. And it appears that Elon feels like some of them are very different from what he was led to believe. And I think that is where it is. Now, I don't think he has a legal case to go after it. So when you don't have a legal case, the next thing you do is a public embarrassment. And I think that is what he's causing. The way Parag reacted tells you that how much Twitter was sort of, arm twisted, so to say, on their own platform to sort of react to all the accusation made by Elon. So, I can't say how ethical it is, but it is clearly a platform on which you can express opinion and you can express your point of view. And I think Elon is doing exactly that. And if he's not liking, he's calling it out, and he's calling it out publicly. And, that's what this platform is all about. So I think he is following the guidelines of the platform. And that's where things are.
The question of putting out your own point of view and free speech is also very much at the centerpiece of this entire acquisition and of the entire debate surrounding Twitter. That is there enough of a free voice? The banning of Donald Trump, for example, is a big bone of contention. I want you to bring us some perspective from your experiences right here when you were heading Twitter in India, where free speech, what was banned, who was barred, who was shown more or less, I'm sure, problems or questions that you lobbed as well. Is it a black and white kind of a situation? Can free speech be allowed completely unfettered, or does the platform have a right and a responsibility to come in and make sure that people see less of some kinds of speech?
Yeah, so I think that is the core of all the discussion that is happening, I think, globally between all the platforms and also all the governments. And also that seems to be a major point of discussion between what Elon believes is free speech versus how the platform is behaving. Now, my perspective is, I think I watched it from a distance because clearly I was in India then. And the content moderation or the team that looks at what tweets go where, that is managed outside India. I mean, the team is not based in India. So my read there is clearly there is a certain guidelines or policies around, what is allowed, what is not allowed, and that is, I think, laid out in their website as well. If you go to the website and they talk about like civic integrity policy, they talk about harmful content policy, and they frame these policies with all the good intent, right? For example, if something is causing law and order situation, you don't want to see those tweets, and I think they have a certain view of doing that. Now the question is, you can frame policies with all the good intent, but ultimately, these policies are enforced by some humans at some point in time, right? And I think the moment you have some human beings interpreting these policies and then deciding, hey, this tweet fulfills is fair as per the policy, and this tweet is not correct, and I think they start taking that call. That is where you see some bias entering, and I think every human being has a bias, and I think to that extent, being a Bay Area company, having certain ethos, certain way of looking at things, some bias does enter, right? Now, that's where situation has been, right? And I think it does impact what stays and what goes down. Now, what I hear from Elon, and I think this is again my interpretation, I think his view of free speech is that whatever is allowed by the law of a country. And I think that's a very broad and a very simplistic definition. I think in principle, that seems like okay, but the question is, which law and how do you ensure that happens the way the law says, right? I mean, I think that is where the difference comes in, because each country has its own law. And the challenge of running a platform like Twitter is that these tweets are global. Once you tweet something, anyone in any country can see it. So what is okay in UK may not be okay in, say, Germany, or maybe okay in Japan and may not be okay in South Africa, right? So how do you then do that? So country level variations will come in. That's one. Second is, who will interpret the law? Because law is also not black and white, right? I mean, so you have to then look at the law of a land, and then you have to look at the tweet content, and then you have to take a judgment call saying, okay, this is as per this or not, right? So that's a tough one, right? Easier said than done. And I think my heart goes out to people who try to do it. And I think it's not a Twitter only problem. I think every platform suffers from that. The moment you have user generated content, and then you have to sort of figure out how to decide what stays and what goes down, that's where the challenges start coming, right? So I watched it from a distance, and that's my view on sort of the whole dynamics behind it.
But the other sort of question that Twitter is facing is whether the people within are biased. You've had this leaked video, a hidden camera sort of interview of one of the engineers in Twitter, who is seeming to say on camera, without knowing he's being recorded, that internally a lot of people have a left-wing bias and are very unhappy about Musk taking over. What do you make of this new development?
Yeah, so I haven't seen that video, and so I can't comment specifically on the video. But the question is, it all depends on who you ask, right? So human beings have ideologies, and human beings have a point of view, right? So the challenge that comes in is that in a company, when you're hiring, if you are not hiring in a way that you have balancing of different ideologies, and if that balance is not there in the content moderation team, those bias will start reflecting in the way the content is moderated, right? So that is the bottom line, right? And being a company domiciled in one country, having a certain kind of orientation in terms of the hiring will reflect on the team that is being hired, and that will ultimately reflect on what is moderated and how, right? So the question would be to remove the human bias, and I think how do you do that? Because if you trust the machine completely, even then, I think someone has to design the algorithm of those kind. Someone has to also have to figure out how to then run it. So it's a very tough problem to remove those bias. And I don't know how someone would do it. And that's something people are learning and people are figuring it out. And I think people are trying to become better and better. But I won't say that everything is everything is great there. I mean, in the sense that things are in a path of improvement, but there's a lot of distance to cover as well.
And was Musk the person who is likely to do that? Are you on one of those people who's cheering Musk possibly taking over Twitter? Or are you looking at it with trepidation?
Well, I think if I look at Musk as a person, I think he has taken on big challenges, and he has really executed well and sort of made impossible possible. I mean, look at the whole Tesla and the environmental friendly transportation system. You look at SpaceX. So he seems to be a person who believes in taking up audacious challenges and sort of executing on them. And I think the challenge that Twitter is facing increasingly is also a very difficult one, because it is the public square. It is the place where public narrative is shaped. It is how people discover what is breaking news. So clearly, my view is that he clearly seems to be quite capable of changing things and also improving. So clearly, from that perspective of okay, give him a chance to try it out. I feel like it would be a good move for him to sort of run it for some time and show whether he can do a better job than how it has been done today. But I think it's a tough one, right? So I think that is why I feel like someone who really wants to take challenges, it's going to be a great for someone like that, someone of that kind, to try it out and see how things change there.
Well, it's definitely interesting how he's put the Twitter team in a corner on their very own platform. Parag Agarwal must be a worried man today. Thank you so much, Manish, for joining us and sharing your perspective.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for having me.